Welcome to the Unstoppable Joy podcast, where functional medicine meets the power of Jesus Christ. I'm your host, Kathryn McAdam. I'm a functional medicine nurse practitioner, a Christian speaker, and author, and co-founder of Sozo Functional Medicine. My journey through health challenges, heartache, and overcoming adversity has deepened my understanding of healing. It's not just the physical, but also mental, emotional, and spiritual. In every episode, we explore the path to greater joy, vitality, and spiritual awakening. This podcast is for anyone seeking not only physical wellness, but also spiritual renewal, firmly rooted in the teachings of Jesus. So, whether you're a devoted listener or joining us for the first time, welcome to the Unstoppable Joy podcast. We'll be offering you the tools and wisdom to unlock your true potential and experience boundless joy. So, pull up a chair, grab your favorite beverage, and let's get started. Hello, friends, and welcome back. I know I've been silent here for a while, but I needed to take some much needed rest and relaxation. And as we're approaching the new year, I am just fired up. I hope that you've had a Merry Christmas, and as you are approaching the new year, Happy New Year. I wanted to get on here and just talk to you about some things that have just come up in the last few months, things that are coming out in the media and in research. And I'm a grandma now, so I am looking at things a little bit differently as far as health and wellness. And as you know, I am a functional medicine nurse practitioner. You may not know that, but if you're listening to me for the first time, thank you for joining in and welcome. I wanted to share today a little bit about kids' health. Now, I was talking to my kids about this today and kind of chuckling about it. There was a Christmas where I seriously was considering canceling Christmas. And I asked my kids about it, and thankfully they don't remember. They were traumatized by this, but I certainly was. Um, this is years and years ago when my kids were little. They were in elementary school, and um, it was near Christmas time, and we would decorate our Christmas tree with candy canes. And we would have lots of candy around the house. And one of the things that we would do is we would take those little discs, the ones that are red and white or green and white, and you can, there's a little kind of a art project you can do with them where you make a ring out of them, and you put them in the oven, and they melt and they kind of congeal together, and let them cool, and then you can hang it on your tree. So I was, had all these candies around, these red and white candies, and my kids were eating them, sneaking a nibble here and there. And I remember, like, they were challenging. We were all going through a really difficult time, those first Christmases after the divorce, after separation, and all that. But this was especially just, they were out of control, naughty, like physically fighting and destroying things around the house. And I remember thinking, I'm going to cancel Christmas. These kids are rotten. We didn't cancel Christmas, but I was thinking about this, and the first couple days after they had just gotten off for Christmas break, and they just were. I thought, well, maybe they're out of their element. They're not used to not having that structure and that routine that they had at school. But then I was just started like putting pieces together, like, well, they don't act like this normally on the weekends, or you know, they usually can like, you know, handle themselves and not be hitting and acting out so much. And it just like dawned on me. It's like the red dye. And I knew my oldest for sure was sensitive to the red dye, but the others also. And so we cut out the candy, and we had Christmas that year. Sure. At least we cut out the red candy. And when looking back, I didn't know any better. And the thing is that now we do know better. We're learning more and more about the dangers of these dyes and these colors and artificial sweeteners and artificial flavors, and how dangerous this stuff is. it's been commonplace. I remember when I was a baby, one of my first memories is sitting in my high chair. I do remember sitting in my high chair eating Lucky Charms and those little sweet little marshmallows, and they were so good. Still, like, I would love to have some, but I know how horrible they are for me, so I don't eat them. I don't buy them. But I just wanted to talk about this today and just bring us some awareness. You may be hearing in the news that now they're pushing. There's legislation pushing to outlaw some of these additives, some of these colors in our food. A lot of it is really geared towards kids. Those brightly colored things, and even adults. We fall into that category too. Um, but I heard some alarming things in the last month, and I had to say something. I just come on here and say, "Hey, let's do something about this." One of the things I heard is that 40% of school age children, 40%, is almost half of school age children, have a chronic condition. And that was just like mind blowing to me. It's like, what in the world? The other thing I heard was that, this generation of kids growing up now is the first generation ever to have a life expectancy that is less than their parents, and that just absolutely breaks my heart. I cannot believe that we are to this point. There's many factors that go into that, but a big factor of it is our food, and, the big 3 are our food, our stress levels, and our inability to connect. Um, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of those today, and I'm going to give some tips on things that we can do to start today to help our kids and help ourselves to become more healthy, to become just more aware. I mean, I think awareness is the key. It is the first step towards making a change. And once you have an emotional, like, oh my gosh, like my kind of shock of like we need to do something, it's very motivating. That emotional tie to that is huge. And so, first of all, I want to talk about the food we eat, like I was mentioning. And it's challenging. I remember my kids, some of them being picky eaters and not wanting certain things. I remember making a salad for Naomi when she was just, I think she was like 2. And I remember her scrunching up her nose and pointing at it and saying, "Bunny, eat it." Like, what in the world did you give me, mom? Like, this is rabbit food. But, luckily, she grew out of that, and she loves her veggies now, but, vegetables, eating fresh fruits and vegetables is key. Our body is made up of this incredible system that has a connection between our gut and our brain. It's a gut-brain connection. You may have heard about this, maybe it's new to you, but there is scientific research that backs up the fact that you have gut microbes in your stomach that help to digest food and assimilate vitamins, that sort of thing. Um, and they actually send signals to your brain and your brain to your gut. And if you've ever just been like sick to your stomach, like you heard bad news or you're anxious and your stomach gets in a knot, there you go. That's one proof of that. Um, but yeah, they've done studies on it, and it's like a super highway. It's connected, and it's called the vagus nerve is the thing that it regulates, and that vagus nerve is what regulates many of the systems in your body. And so, working on what's in your gut, those healthy those microbes that should be there, helps to maintain your gut lining. And if you heard anything about leaky gut, I know I've talked about that before, but it helps to um, combat that leaky gut. And the more diverse nutrients that you get from the diversity of your diet, as far as fruits and veggies go, and grains, that sort of thing, the more diverse, the better off you are. And they're really saying with like babies, there's research that show the first 1,000 days of life is crucial to how that individual will have health and well-being the rest of their life. You kind of set it up. It's like you're making that good ground, first of all. You're making that good soil of the gut microbiomes to help, like I said, it assimilates minerals or vitamins, and it helps to digest your food. And when you have a healthy gut, then it affects everything. And you wouldn't think about it, but actually it affects your brain and how you think and how you feel. 80 to 90% of your serotonin is actually produced in your gut. And if your gut's off, if you don't have a healthy microbiome, if you have gut dysbiosis is the technical term, then you won't be able to produce that serotonin that you need. That's that feel good chemical. Dopamine also, that is like that feel good kind of drive, that pep, that motivation. And, people that are anxious, people that are depressed, when we work with them here at Sozo, we're able to correct that gut dysbiosis and get them feeling amazing. It helps with sleep. Another really important factor of your health is sleep. Your brain detoxes and your body detoxes as it sleeps, as it's rest. It's one of the things that God created for us to do. Um, so yeah, so that's a big part of health and wellness is basically getting your gut back in line. And like I said, having a big variety of fruits and veggies, really shoot for at least 30. I know it sounds like a big number, but even so say your child maybe they don't like many veggies, but say they like maybe broccoli. Well, there's all kinds of different color broccoli out there. So even the different color ones, the different strains will also feed those that microbiome that you have in your gut. So just be creative. I remember hiding veggies in some of my kids' food. Like they loved macaroni and cheese. Looking back now, I know, like, and I knew then, I was like, this is a weird color, like this bright orange color. Usually you don't find it in nature. Although you do find it in carrots, which is what I would hide in the macaroni and cheese. If you can find an organic, natural macaroni and cheese, or make it by scratch at home. It's not difficult to do. If you want some recipes for that, I will be happy to share that with you. But learning how to do some simple cooking at home and be able to make these things for your kids will be really, it gets you way farther ahead in their health, their digestive health. The other thing that is really concerning is the screen time. And, it's hard. All of us end up spending a lot of time and screen time, whether you work on a computer like I do. I mean, I do see patients as well, but I have a virtual practice here with Sozo. And so seeing patients virtually, I absolutely love it. I love being able to connect with people from wherever they are, and encourage them and help them in their health journey. But I'm spending a lot of time on the screen. And did you know that research has shown that kids that are growing up and they have data that shows that 5 hours of screen time or more especially for children, adolescents, it increases their suicide risk by 50%. I mean, it just breaks my heart. And when you have kids whose parents are distracted by their phone, instead of having that one-on-one contact, the eye contact and an attention, that causes distress and anxiety in kids. They've proven that. And so leading by example, when I was, young mom with my little kids, one thing we always did is we had dinner together. Um, we would have breakfast, pretty much together too, but, everybody's kind of on their own schedule as far as getting ready and getting out the door on time. But dinner time was kind of a sacred time for us. It was a time where we would sit around the table. I would always try to have something to read, whether that was scripture or educational book. We would talk about the day, and I actually had a big piece of paper that I would put out. The whole table was a big piece of paper, and we had crayons. And so, they could sit there and doodle, and we would talk, and we would, I'd read something, and we did, one of the things that I did with my kids when they were little, just to try to connect with them and get them to be thinking about their emotions and being able to express them, was we did best and worst. We would say, what is the best thing that happened today, and what was the worst thing that happened today? And we would always, whether it was, I got in a fight at school today and, so and so was mean to me and pushed me down and, so we could talk about that stuff because the worst thing that I find for kids is when they feel like nobody is listening. And it's dangerous, right? They will find someone who will listen to them, and that's how they can get stuck in, this human trafficking and different things online. These predators that kind of prey on kids, especially with all that screen time. And like I said, when the parents aren't, they're distracted by their phones and not spending time and paying attention to the kid. I'm not saying that you can't ever be on your phone when your kids are around, but do spend specific time with them and say, "Hey, let's sit down and read a book together," or whatever it is. Um, doing those things purposefully is huge. And like I said, having that distraction of your phone will cause anxiety and distress in the kid, and especially when they feel like nobody's listening, nobody's there. They feel like um, it's just anxiety ridden. So helping your child to understand that, hey, we're going to put our phones away for now, and this is time for us to connect. That is the one thing that they have shown that is a game changer for a lot of these kids is having that actual interaction, that face to face interaction with their friends, and with their parents as well. The other thing that we would do, is every night I would, spend time with my kids individually. We would have bedtime prayers and we would, whether we were reading a book or, if they wanted to talk about something or they wanted a special project that they wanted to work on, I always tried to spend time, and we had a timer because it could go long. I spent so it, as our part of our bedtime routine, everybody had their time to get their teeth brushed and their pajamas on and get their um, things laid out for school the next day. Trying to avoid all that rush in the morning, and that is a huge source of anxiety is being in a rush. I know now. I don't like being rushed in the morning. I don't like to be racing out the door, and so having things set up like having your clothes laid out and having your book bag ready and your lunch is packed and whatever it is, having those things already taken care of really helps to like calm down the morning. And so all we have to do is eat breakfast, get dressed, and head out the door. So it's not, oh my gosh, I dropped so and so off to school and now they don't have their backpack. And you know how stressful that can be. So yeah, so we would always, set a timer. So a bedtime routine, everybody had their own, schedule as who got into the bathroom first and brushed their teeth and if they needed a shower or a bath or whatever. So we had everything kind of organized for the night, organized for the week. They all had their as soon as my kids were big enough, they helped with the laundry, they had chores. They, had things that they were in charge of, whether that was helping me in the kitchen or, they had to dust. We had like, a little duster thing and or vacuum when they got big enough, or when the boys got big enough, they would help mow the lawn or help shovel, that sort of thing. So get your kids involved, do stuff with them, right? That's showing them, it's educating them on how to grow and how to live, right? These skills, like I taught my kids how to shake hands, how to look somebody in the eye and shake their hand and not have a wet limpy hand when you're shaking hands. It shows respect to that other person. And that's something that my dad instilled in me and my siblings is like, how do you talk to people? How do you make eye contact and, shaking the hand and what to say. And even if you have to pass between two people that are having a conversation, what you do, like just etiquette stuff too. So there's a lot to it as far as parenting, um, but yeah, so I would always, set a timer and then 20 minutes with each. So we got through it in an hour. And that was the bedtime routine. And usually then by the time we were done, I was ready to brush my teeth and get in bed too. So, just spending that quality time with them helps to decrease that anxiety. It helps to decrease that. So the last thing you want to do is raise a kid that you get to the end where they're leaving the house and they're sassy and rude and they don't know how to take care of themselves or their room and they're not responsible. Doing some things every day and instilling responsibility, instilling just these practical things about how to be an adult, how to like take on responsibility and then also how to manage your emotions. So that's a huge thing. So we talked about gut health, and I this is a topic that I could go on for forever. Talked about emotional health and screen time and stress. Another part of that too is getting fresh air, being out in nature is a great way to relieve stress. The other thing too is, I, as may know, I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, and our superpower as Christians is worship. There's no other way to say it. It is a superpower. I hear so much in the functional medicine world about meditation, about breathing exercises. And I remember my little boy, Elijah, he loved to sing. And I remember him in some very stressful situations, finding him laying on his bed, singing at the top of his lungs. And whether he realized what he was doing or not, obviously I don't think so, but he called it his God songs, and he was just adorable. But yes, so he was just singing at the top of his lungs, and he didn't even know, but he was um, uh, stimulating his vagal tone and basically helping himself self-soothe. And that is one of the things that you can definitely do as a Christian, is spending that time in worship. Not only are you lifting and releasing your burdens and your worries and giving God praise and connecting with your creator, but you're also, or who knew, like some biblical practice was actually good for you physically. And that's what I love about functional medicine and learning it as if from a Christian perspective is all the things that are in there that are actually biblical principles. And so that's one of the things that is kind of my niche. I love talking about how we can incorporate both functional medicine with the faith, the Christian walk. And I have a program that's coming up. It's going to, I guess, reboot here in January, called the Divine Gut Revival, and it's all about faith and functional medicine. It's about how to realign your body to function and heal itself the way that God designed. Your body has the ability to correct imbalances and heal itself and reset things that are off. Um, just like when you get a cut in your hand doesn't just fall off; it heals. And so, same thing with your gut health and other pieces of your body. You can restore health and healing. People have reversed their autoimmune conditions. They have restored their gut health and their reproductive health. People that have struggled with fertility, people have struggled with chronic conditions such as eczema and arthritis, psoriatic arthritis. It's crazy. It is unreal what we can do to help people restore their health again. And it's amazing. It's such a pleasure to be a functional medicine provider because I can help people, and I absolutely love it. So yes, we are going to talk about one more thing, which is sleep. Now, again, I kind of talked about bedtime routines. That is crucial. Bedtime routines, it's something that's so simple but it's everybody can do it. It's free. And it is a game changer for your health and wellness. Your body detoxes as you sleep. Um, your brain detoxes as you sleep. It's an amazing gift that God gave us, the gift of sleep, the gift of rest, and especially helping kids sleep. So, having that consistency of that bedtime routine, but also waking up the same time. Now, they say, school days, you're waking up at a certain time. They say not to really vary the wake up time more than like an hour. So say your kid's getting up at 6:30 in the morning, which I know is really early, but some kids get up real early for school. They got a big commute, whatever it is. Parents too. Um, Try not to vary that on the weekends more than an hour. That being said, kids need a lot more sleep than adults do. And so making sure that they do get that good quality rest is really important. Some strategies to get your kids to have a better night's sleep is avoiding that screen time. Really, like 2 to 3 hours before bedtime is crucial. decreasing that screen time at the very least, if they have to be on their iPad or something for a school project or, that sort of thing, then make sure you change the settings on the phone or the iPad so that they have no blue light after maybe even dinner time, and it changes over to like a yellow or red light. There is a setting in your phone or your iPad that you should be able to change that. Um, Getting blue light blocking glasses. I mean, I know it sounds funny, but like even doing that if you're gonna have a movie night. But really it's more the computers and that sort of thing because before we had the advent of artificial light, as the sun went down, we had less light hitting the retina in the back of our eye. And as less light hit the retina on the back of our eye, then that would trigger our bodies to produce melatonin. Well, if you don't have that normal melatonin production, then it makes it hard. You won't get as sleepy. And so you can supplement with melatonin. Obviously, talk to your doctor before you do anything like that. But um, yeah, melatonin is something. It's not okay for little kids to take melatonin. I don't believe so. But one thing that can be helpful is, the good old glass of milk before bedtime. Just make sure they brush their teeth because you don't want those sugars sitting on the teeth. But calcium is one of those things that is shown to help sleep. Magnesium is another thing too. So having a good like a bedtime snack, not like right at bedtime, but maybe an hour or so before bedtime, just to help them unwind and so they're not going to bed feeling like their tummy is rumbling, will be helpful. And that calcium and having something in their belly will help to maintain that blood sugar throughout the night so they're not dipping down. Having something that's nutritious and not just sugary. Really important to have something that has fat and protein is important because what happens is if you just have like carbs at bedtime, I said a glass of milk, but mostly, we want to have something that's nutritious that has not only fat, but has a protein in it too. Um, and so things like, if your kids do peanut butter, do some peanut butter and celery or do some cheese and crackers, something that to that effect. I mean, you can do maybe some peanut butter and like an apple. Just find something that is nutritious that they will eat and they will like. I mean, some yogurts are good. Just you gotta really watch the sugar. So that leads me to one other thing I really wanted to say before we get off here is about fatty liver disease. And this just, man, it just saddens me for this generation and for us adults too. 18% of kids, school age kids, have fatty liver disease. 18%. That is alarming. It should be 0%. Like kids should not have liver disease. They shouldn't. This is something that we used to hear, we've heard all about cirrhosis, right? It's like it's liver disease and it's usually from alcohol. But this fatty liver disease is not alcohol related. It's actually related to high fructose corn syrup. What happens is you eat something that has these sugars in it, which is a lot of our food these days, and your body stores it in the liver as fat. It becomes a disease state. Your liver does not function well because it's overloaded with fat. So what do we do? What do we do? Avoid processed foods. Break up with sugar. I know that's difficult, and that's why I'm leading people through this divine gut revival coming up here in January, because I am so passionate about finding health and wellness for families, for moms. I work with a lot of women, and I love working with women because we are the keystones of our home. When mom ain't happy, nobody happy. But seriously, like if mama's rocking it and she's feeling awesome in her health and she is, on top of it with her eating and she knows what to eat. She knows how to fuel her body so that she has sustained energy, so she's not in these mood swings and she's happy and vibrant and, you know, rocking it like I said, then the rest of the family is going to be doing as well. And she's going to, I love that Proverbs 31 woman. She is the one that she's holding it all together, and she's making things happen, and she is providing for her family. And man, it is a blessing to work with women and see them thrive and see them just blossom and grow, and what an impact that has on their family and their kids' health too. So I bring all this up about kids because like I said, I want to help. I do. I want to change this trajectory. I want to reverse it, and I'm on a mission to do so. So I thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for joining in. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, subscribe, comment. I love to hear your comments. It encourages me to know, hey, somebody's listening and I'm making a difference, right? We all need that encouragement. And if you want to find out more about the Divine Gut Revival that we have coming up here in January, we do it so many times a year. We only have so many spots, so you'll want to make sure that you reach out to me and get into that. It's not free. It's paid. It's, going to be something that's going to be an investment, but it's way cheaper than working with me one-on-one. But we do have all kinds of stuff in there that's going to be awesome for you. I look at your labs that maybe your doctor's done recently, and from the functional medicine point of view, and I can tell a lot about what's going on in you from there. So that's part of the bonuses of joining me. Plus, we're going to be, in a group setting, and we're going to be encouraging one another. You'll be learning tons and tons more from me about health and wellness and all of the tools and tips that I have as a single mom and going through health issues and what I had to avoid and what things I had to overcome to get to a place of health and wellness in my own life. And I want to share those things with people. And I've done that a lot on this podcast, but Divine Gut um, Divine Gut Revival is all about reviving you, body, mind, and spirit, because you can't separate them. And a lot of these other programs that I've seen out there, I've even participated in them. They address the physical, like eat right, exercise, and some of them are starting to address like the mental, like the stress part of it, the anxiety, on dealing with healthy ways of dealing and managing stress, but none of them are addressing the spiritual. And that's what I address: body, mind, and spirit. You can't separate the spirit. And if you do, you're going to be missing out. And not only that, you won't have as good of success. You might have success for a while, but unless you break those chains, or unless you break those strongholds, unless you break those negative patterns and are able to connect with the divine, with God our Father, then you'll be missing out. You'll be shortchanging yourself. So and I want the church, the body of Christ, to find health. I do. We are so stuck in our ways. But, anyways, I'll get off my soapbox. I hope you enjoyed this. I just love being able to minister and bring life and health to every situation. And I've been through a lot. God has, uh, I guess, gifted me with lots of challenges to overcome. And so, there are very few things that people experience that I haven't experienced myself. And I'm able to comfort those because I have been comforted. So I hope you have a blessed rest of your day, rest of the year, and I hope to see you in the new year. Take care.